here. I don't know. That's making funny noises. Oh! Why didn't you tell me the camera was turned on? I didn't know you were back there filming. I've got so much to test today, my table is full. I've got over here a power supply that I'm testing, and this weather station over here. And I've got so much that I'm testing, I don't know which one to really test first. Well, hold on. Let me clean my table off, and I'll be right with you. Whether or not to buy this AcuRite weather station. A little note on this video. I have made a little error, which was a little bit too hard to correct unless I wanted to redo the whole thing. I talked about the 5-in-1 sensor only sending the signal 300 feet. Well, looking back at the paperwork, it goes 330 feet. But in this video, I proved that there are issues with the unit itself. Not for the fact that of the equipment, but for the fact that it's the outdoor atmosphere that gives you the problems. Hello folks. Today I've got a weather station to test out. And actually I've had it in testing for, well, I'm not really sure how long, but it's not one that I would recommend. Now let me give you a bunch of negatives here, and let me actually show you the unit first, and then I'll go into a bunch of negatives that this thing is not worth the $100 that I spent. Now, my friend that I've talked to about weather stations recommended Davis because they're more expensive, and there's a lot more positives with Davis equipment than this AcuRite. This AcuRite is not accurate. Let me just make that clear. Their name does not go with their equipment. And so let me get to the unit and let me show you some of the things that I've got going here. And let me tell you one of the reasons why I don't like it as I show you what's going on here. Alright, so this is your main panel right here of this AcuRite. Now, here's like your wind speed, your temperature. Now, it is cold outside. And the one thing that I have found that is not accurate about this system is the fact that this wind speed. Now, I had a winter storm a couple weeks ago that brought in a lot of wind and a lot of blustery wind. And every now and again, the wind would go, and you could hear it. You could hear it hitting the house. And I watched this thing, and after once, there was just a burst of wind. And this thing took 10 seconds to update. And the other thing is, I don't know if you can read this weather ticker down here, but it is telling me that I need to plug it into my PC because I have not been downloading the data. Now, one of the things that I've found with this unit, and the fact is that I've done several tests with it, and like I said, these are the negatives on this unit. The fact that the wind does not keep up with what's going on, like it's 10 seconds. The thing down here has a very annoying scroll. Now, I'm not saying that the scroll is annoying, but it's telling me that this weather center is full, so I need to download it. And which that's partly my problem with this PC is that this does not support Windows XP. Now, what I was trying to do with my older XP system is make a network-wide weather server, basically, for the our network. And so it didn't have to go out to the internet and get any data. It's just that each individual wired or wireless client would receive weather data through a browser of some sort. So, if you're looking for a toy, this is a perfect toy. But if you're serious about weather and you want to plan your day and you want to know what's going on with the weather, this thing is not for you. This is too cheap to be accurate. So let me go through some of the features here. Let's see here. So on here, you can set like your alarms. Now, the one thing that I found out that was very hard with this unit is that even though that it had a simple manual, it was still hard to set. I kept hitting, like say like this button right here, and I kept wanting to do something else because either if I pushed it over too far, it would hit this button inside the machine, so it was always doing something weird. That was kind of a pain. The other thing I found is I'm actually going to show you where the sensor is mounted. Now, that's one negative on this unit, is that I also have some old footage back when we had good weather and I set it up outside. And I did several other tests. I wanted to make sure that I was getting the range that it said. It said that it was going to, I could reach up to 300 feet away. Not correct. Now, I set it up 200 feet away from my house, and everything around my house I could get with this screen. I actually took it out, and there was there's batteries in it, so I could actually do a test. And everywhere I walked, I could get the signal. As soon as I brought it in the house, it lost signal just like that, and that was like 200 feet away. Now that was like, like it was 100 feet less than what they said, like what the manual said that it could do 300 feet. Now that is pretty pathetic that I cannot run it at 200 feet and get signal in my house. The other thing with this unit is it's a battery hog. Now what do I mean by that? It takes 4 batteries for the 5-in-1 sensor, and let me see here. Let me look at the back for a quick second, because I can't remember how many batteries are in this thing, but it's a battery hog. I don't like it for that fact. Yeah, there's 6 batteries in the back of this thing, and there's other things that are negative about it. Is that it has a cable, and for a power cable and for the USB cables, all inside this compact little unit. Let me show you that now, what I mean. So right here is the 6 batteries. It also has some kind of, I'm not sure what that is, like reset button or something. It's really hard to see what's inside this machine, but there's a little switch here that you set your signal. Now it's like A, B, C, D in there. So you gotta set your 5-in-1 sensor to a certain code. And I don't know what the reception is for this, but you have to set that, and then there's these cables right here. Now the one thing I've found with this unit is that it is very hard to plug in these cables. And on top of this, the reason why I got the back off is not really show you the battery compartment. It's for the fact that it was hard to get the wires, these 2 wires, to sit back down flush. It was a struggle to have to put this cover back on. So I left the stinging thing off. And let me show you some other things on this unit that I do not like. Now I'm not sure if you can see the signal bars here. Now this is one thing that I found out last week, and some other times. It happened to me twice. Now, I can't remember if I said this or not, but my sensor is about 100 feet from the house, and to this room it's about 10 feet. So it's about 110 feet from the house here. So during this windstorm that we had, I lost reception to this unit. And I was like, oh great, the thing just died. It didn't. When the wind stopped and it blew another direction, I got signal back, and I was able to watch this meter here for the signal. It went up and down. And actually, when the weather got worse, it got pretty poor. I mean, I got maybe like 2 bars. One was the worst. Then one time it just, actually, both of the times that I've had this happen, I lost all bars. Now, I've got good batteries in this unit and in the 5-in-1 sensor, and this thing will not stay on during a windstorm. So unless you have this sitting right on top of your house, it ain't going to work. So the other, I mean, and this is kind of a bittersweet unit, like I said, because I'm serious about weather and wanting to do stuff. Now, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm just wanting to plan my day and not have to use a Weather Channel website, because we do not have a Weather Channel TV station here. So this works pretty good. It tells me when it's going to rain, snow, if it's sunny. That works okay. Now the positive things are that it's accurate. Is the cold temperature. Now, I'm not really sure if this is accurate, but the other over here shows you, now this is one thing that's kind of a pain, is actually, well, it's showing me in my room, this current room right now, it's 81 degrees. So this one, the hot air and the cold air are the only 2 things that are accurate on this unit. The wind and this thing right here to tell me what whether it's going to be snow or rain is not very accurate at all. So when it comes to weather, you want to use a unit that is more expensive than $100. So it worked pretty good when I tested it. But the other thing that I do not like on this, I know I'm kind of going back and forth on the likes and the do not likes, but it's the screen. Now, if you have a computer running, and I'm not saying that you guys, man, there's probably some of you folks that sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day for work. I do. I do a lot of research here. And having this running with this this light, it is very harsh on my eyes. Even to look at it after a tiring day of sitting in front of the computer, I have to run it like this. I have to shut the screen off just to be able to look at the weather. And it's very dark. And I don't know if you can really see that. That's not really a colored LCD or LED screen. Whatever they want to call it. They call it colored. No, it's a plated thing in the back of the machine that this thing just lights it up. And so these colors are not generated by the screen. So if I were actually to unplug this thing and take out the batteries, it would still be the same color. So this is not really a true colored screen. Which is, I mean, I can run it like this, but the other thing that I found is the rain gauge. That's another thing that I have not figured out, and I've also read some reviews on the internet, and they said that this thing, this rain gauge, and that's what this is right here, this rain gauge is very hard to set up, and it's too time consuming. So let me get showing you my sensor and where it's located, and then we'll get to some old footage of where I have set the unit up and how I've tested it, and then we'll go from there. But let me get going on showing you the sensor. So here I am. I'm looking out the window at my garage where I have the sensor set up. So as I zoom in, there is that sensor right there. So that's about 110 feet from my garage to this room. So I'm actually up in the laundry room here. And that's about 110 feet right to there. Right inside that room. So that gets, I mean, if it's good weather, this will actually get good signal like it is today. But being all the way out there, out on the garage, and it is up high enough. And let's see if it's actually turning. Yeah, you can actually see the sensor turning. So that's the wind speed right there as it's turning there. So we know it's working. It's just not very accurate. Now the other thing that I have to mention about this sensor is the fact of the mounting bracket. Now for the mounting bracket on this 5-in-1 sensor, it is the biggest piece of junk. It was very frustrating to get it mounted properly. I had to go through several different stores to find a pole that would fit inside that plastic piece of junk. Now either they wanted you to mount it on the wall, but I have I'm not sure what they call it, a J-pole or something. I can't remember what they call those mounts, but that's a J-pole out there. If I'm using the right term properly, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on it. I had to get a wooden dowel to be able to mount it out there. Now that isn't any good. It'll rot sometime. I'm not going to leave it out there that long, but you know, the screws were tough to get in, and I actually literally had to force the screws into the plastic. Now there was no screw holes. There was not even a place to line it up so like it has like a little keyhole so you know that it's lined up and you just screw it down. It didn't have anything like that. It was the toughest thing to put together. And if you're not a handy man, handy woman, I wouldn't mess with this. Some of the other video that I'm going to show you, it's going to get into more detail about what I had to go through to put it together, and some of the older, you know, some more of a summer like videos that I've taken shots of this. But I don't know. I mean, if you want to use it for a science project, that's one thing. But I would not use this thing for your day in and day out weather needs. I might be going around on this too much, but I don't know. I got mixed emotions about the whole thing, and the fact that losing signal during a winter storm is a big issue with me. Now, what is the purpose of having that losing signal like that? One thing I asked the company about the signal loss and about the distance problem. They had a little box that you could buy, and what it was basically is a signal repeater that runs on batteries. Come on, folks. Batteries die, and they don't last. Now, why do I want to have the whole entire thing run on batteries? This is more expense than it's worth. It took me a 16 box of batteries from Walmart to fill this thing. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, what I was hoping, and it didn't turn out this way because I called the company and I asked them, I said, they have a little weather server device that you can connect up to your network, but that isn't any good just to have a local weather server for your computers, which is what I was trying to accomplish with this thing. It basically just feeds it over the internet. Now, what good is that? I mean, yeah, if you are the folks that are on the road and want to make sure that your house is safe, that's one thing. But for some of us that are home all the time, I work from home, so I don't need remote weather. I just want to be able to view it here and be able to view it in multiple areas in my house. Whether it be in my kitchen or my living room, instead of having to buy a monitor, because I can buy multiple of these monitors for an extra price, but it's not worth it. And every room in the house has a screen for either a computer or a television, so why couldn't I just display it on one of those in my kitchen? Now, what they need to do, and if you watched other videos before, you're going to know that I do not like wireless. And this is one of the reasons why I do not like wireless, is for the fact that when bad weather happens, you lose connection. Same with Wi-Fi, with radio, TV. Anytime when you get bad weather, it's gone. Same way with this thing. I mean, even the Davis equipment I was telling you about. One of my best friends in Oregon said, yeah, Davis is the best unit to get. It's expensive, but if you're serious, then Davis is the way to go. Now, they're still wireless, but their footage is much farther. So like this only goes 300 feet. The Davis instruments that I saw go 1,000 feet farther. I mean, that's a grand total. 1,000 feet is the grand total, but it doesn't go 300 feet. So what they need to do, and this doesn't matter if it's Davis Instruments or AcuRite, they need to have it set up so that you can connect it to a wire. I don't care which way you do it. Now, for me, I'd rather have one of these units like a computer. I mean, you connect your laptop with an IP address. Now, why couldn't these things be connected up with an IP address? Or even just, I don't know. I mean, to me, using it over the network would make more sense, because then I could have it connected, and it could be like a little built-in, whether the 5-in-1 sensor out on the roof or this thing could be like a little weather server over your network. And then if you decided to have it run over the internet, you could set up to run over the internet. But if you don't want it to run over the internet, you could just use this for like a little server. Now, I'm not even saying having a screen here built in. I'm just talking about a box that you can connect to your network and then connect it to your computers. But then if you want to do other things, you could actually have these screens connected up with Ethernet or Wi-Fi. I mean, if Wi-Fi works good for you, that's great. And I'm not opposed to you using it. That's up to you. But to me, I don't like wireless. I've seen too many issues with wireless. But let me just show you some of the things that you can do with it. And I'll try to be quick, since I've been taking a lot of time talking about the negatives. But overall, I mean, if I were to rate this thing, I'd probably rate it like 4 stars on Amazon, because that's where I got it. For the fact that, it's not very accurate. It's great if you just want a little unit to say, well, it's 25 degrees outside. But if you're concerned about your wind and you want to see what the gust of wind is doing, just like that, this isn't going to do it for you. So let me try to get through that as quickly as I can, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm even having issues with just getting everything set, and just so I can change it. So this one right now I'm on is, you can set your clock, you can set date, and I'm using the up and down arrows here. Let's see here. You got your ticker speed. So now you got your outdoor temperature, your cold, and your high, which these are alarms right here on the side over here. And let's see here. So this is outdoor humidity, and you set that from, cold to hot. And let's see, what's this? Alright, so wind speed, you can set that right here. And I'm not really going to try to set everything. I just want to go through it so you can see what the features are of this unit. So there's rain. So actually and I found the rain warning really annoying, for the fact that every time it rained, it would ring. And it didn't matter if it continued to rain, the stupid thing kept ringing. It was very annoying. Now, that was not a very good feature, so I hated that one. I mean, I could just look out the window or hear the rain banging on my roof. Why do I need a rain warning? I mean, unless you're going to have this over the internet, I guess, but I don't know. So you got your heat warning. You can do, you know, our heat index. I'm not really sure what all that is about, but you can set hot and cold, you know. That's your dew point. And I don't really understand all of this stuff, so that's why I didn't really have it all set up. I set it at 32 and 70 just to see what it did. But I turned it all off. So then you can do wind chill. I have mine set at 15 miles per hour because that's what we get here. I just shut the alarm off because we get 15 wind chill an awful lot, so I don't need to when I could just look at the temperature outside it dropping. And let's see here. All right, so we're back to indoor temperature. Let's see here. Indoor humidity. Alright, storm alarm. That is the same about with the rain. Every time it was storming, it was making alarms go off. And it was constant. It wasn't just ring, 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 and it was done. It had to keep ringing off the hook, and it was really annoying. And I actually had it set up, and it rang at night, waking up people. So they weren't too happy. Alright, so this is set units, which is, you know, inches, or I guess it's centimeter or metric. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to go into the whole thing there with that, but so a set language, set USB mode 1 or 2, and we're right back to set clock. So it's not too bad to set it up, but I do find, like I've said, that screen way too bright for my eyes. I'd rather have something that was more of a natural light, like, well, I don't know. I mean, like the light outside your window. This is kind of sharp on my eyes anyways. I don't know about your folks' eyes. But, and it lights up half the house. If you had it downstairs, I mean, I tried it one time and it lit up half the downstairs. So, I had to shut the light off every night before I go into bed. And that was slightly annoying. But let me get to showing you some of the other footage that I have of setting this thing up and giving it some tests. I don't have the footage where I went around with the screen because I didn't have anybody else to help me film it. So, but I give you the basic information of what I found out with the tests. So let's get to that footage now. So here's the 5-in-1 weather sensor that I've got set up here on my by my woodshed. It's about 5 feet off the ground, maybe a little more than that, due to the shed, because that's a 5-foot pole. And let's see here. As you can see, I got it mounted right to the shed here. And it's not a bad location, but as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't do the wind speed very good, because this is right behind the hill here. And I did a test up the hill on the level, and it was different than what we're getting down here. So the only thing that's different about here is that we're not getting the correct wind speed as we are up on the level. So let me show you the problems with I had was mounting the screws in it. These 2 screws right here, if you just buy this system right off the bat and you do not have tools to do this with, and I don't mean screwdrivers, but I had to use a screw gun on this thing. I could not just hand tighten these screws in. They are not self-drilling screws. I had to use a little bit of force on it. Not terribly, but not a lot, but I just had to give it a little bit of a pressure so it would drill itself in. And these are not, I couldn't get these screwed down all the way. So I'm not too impressed with that. Besides that, this thing takes batteries as well. They do have a battery adapter that you can get so that it runs 30 feet down your pole, but that's another 20 bucks. And I didn't really want to spend any more on something that takes batteries. So right here on the system, you can see that there's a battery compartment, and there's a battery on the very bottom and one on the top. So there's 4 of them there. I just didn't take the other set out so you could see it. But you have to get up on a ladder to get at the batteries. I mean, yeah, like I said, they got the adapter, so you can just plug that in and run a 30-foot cable down to an easier place to change the batteries. But the one thing they don't tell you in the manual is that you got to clean this unit every year from debris of mold and everything else that gets in there in the with the wind and dirt. And so that's basically the unit itself. And there's also a switch in there to select the desired reception. Like there's A, B, C, and you gotta set your screen with A, B, C. So it's either A or it's B, and you put your screen on the coinciding letter to the 5-in-1 sensor. Now, the one thing I forgot to say about this unit is that I have found that it works better higher than lower. And I've seen some YouTube review videos that they've had it mounted right to their porch, which is, you can reach it from there. But I don't see how as accurate it can be, 5 feet off the ground compared to having it this way where it's up more like probably 10 feet or so, depending on how high that post is. I know it's I'm 5 foot, and that's pretty much as high as I could reach with that pole to mount that mount on the side of the wall. So let me show you my test area that I did, and I'll show you up in the woods how this all this is just hill around us. So as you can see, this garage is right behind the hillside, and it's hard to see on the screen here, but unless I zoom up, that the weather station is just standing up over the roof. And from the garage to the house is about 100 feet. I ran network cable out to the back for a test one time, so I know that that's 100 feet. And I've tested it 330 feet, and it does go that distance. But the problem with the signal is I had it up 200 feet behind us here. Let me just show you. Up the hill here, and I'll go up there and I'll show you where the stand is. And it worked good out here, but as soon as I got inside, I had no signal. But I had more of an accurate wind speed. So here I am. I'm at my testing spot. You can see there's my mount, and that is 5 feet high. I can reach it, but it's too high for me to mount all the hardware into it. So the pole was another 5 feet high, so that's about 10 feet off the ground. Now I got pretty good reception out here into the house. As you can see, you can barely see the house and the garage from here. But if you're standing where I am, you can see it perfectly through the trees. My only concern is the fact that when all the leaves start to grow in the spring, if that's going to cut down my reception. When I did get into the house, it was pretty poor. It worked fine in the kitchen. It was 4 bars, which is the best quality, but when I got upstairs, it just went poof, just like that. It was gone. So as you can see, there's just a little bit of hill left here, but not bad, but we're right at the top of it. And this is the best place that I got the best wind test, was right in this area. So if you like a weather station, I recommend going with a Davis Instruments. Now you can do a Google search, or you can find them on Amazon and pick up your own. I talked to my friend in Oregon, and he said that Davis was the most accurate weather station out there. It updates within 2 seconds after the whatever the weather happened outside. And he talked to his local TV station, and they told him to go with Davis. So, if you like this video, please tell others, like and subscribe on YouTube, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.